Feels good to have this back where it's supposed to be. This week has been such a powerful, incredible, and busy week. As many of you may know, we've been having a lot of trouble here lately, mainly with this table that is behind me now. And pretty much the entire month of October was consumed by, well, something. I did do another video explaining all of the stuff that went down initially, and I explained it either the day that it happened or the day after, so that is on my other channel. I'll link it up above and down below, but keep in mind, everything was still very fresh at that moment, and so I was a little bit on edge, but at this point, after things had settled down, things kind of started to make more sense. And so today I just kind of want to give an update on the situation and talk about everything that has gone down with the haunting. So quick recap for those of you that don't know or just want a refresher. I bought this table at the beginning of October. It was a spur of the moment decision and kind of crazy. And there's a video on here of me just being wildly obsessed with this table in a way that was strange. And so I'll link that down below as well. And it wasn't too soon after getting the table that things started to get weird. The room in here that it was in kind of had this energy shift. It was much lower than the rest of the house, and my girlfriend and I started having these terrible nightmares that were connected and aligned, and slowly things just started to devolve and get much worse. At the time, I had no idea what I was working with. My space had been invaded and it felt incredibly uncomfortable. And ultimately we decided that it had come in on the table. And once that was decided, I did a cleanse of the table and a cleanse of the house. And immediately whatever negative entity had come into the house was gone. And I'm pretty sure it was out of the table as well. At least that's what I came to decide later with Olivia, who very kindly was just out here helping me clear up this problem all the way. But I'll get into that in a minute. I was a little bit wary to bring that table back into the house for some time, so it had been living in the car for a while and outside in general, undercover, but I just wasn't ready to bring it back into my space until I was sure that it was entirely cleared, and I wanted to wait till I got a second opinion. Unfortunately, because my working was so specific to the table in the house, the entity still remained on the property, and so it was often still really unsettling to exist here. The house felt good, but there was always something watching you through the windows, and it was just uncomfortable. And so I called in Olivia. Olivia and I both work very differently in our crafts. She is a little more well-versed in spirits and things like that. I am definitely far more medicinally based, and she does far more outside than me and has just more experience in this regard. And I was hopeful that she knew what we would be dealing with, because I really didn't, and it wasn't something I'd encountered before. Luckily, the second she walked in here, pretty much, she was like, "It's out there, right?" And yeah, it was right there looking in at us through the window that it always had been, and it was really nice to hear somebody else agree with me on that. And pretty immediately she was like, "I've had this before," and so that helped immensely. This was something she knew and recognized, and well, because she wasn't sure what she was stepping into, she brought something pretty powerful. She was only here for a few days, and it was really nice to see her again. We haven't seen each other in a while, and we were planning on seeing each other later on in the winter, but you know, it's nice to stop in early even on these other circumstances. So we ended up having a lot of just good, nice time together to hang out, and we filmed other videos as well, so those are on each of our channels as well. But I'm pretty sure you are more excited to hear about the ritual we held and how we finally knocked this thing out of here. Like I said, she brought in something really powerful, and it did the trick. This was the first time that either of us had really done a ritual for something so specific with another practitioner, and the first time I'd ever done anything with another practitioner. We're both very solo in our practices, and it was really incredible to work with someone else. I have been kind of wary of it in the past, and I didn't really know how it would go, but it was just electric. There was so much energy and power. It was incredible. I really don't know how to put it to words exactly, but ultimately we didn't end up filming the ritual itself, but we did do a mock-up later to share with you all so that you could kind of experience it, or at least see part of what we did. She and I ultimately came to describing it as bringing a machine gun to a squirrel fight because, well, it knocked it out of the park. It did great, and this house and the property has been cleared ever since. It was cleared before we even got through with the ritual, and pretty much right when we were beginning. So it was powerful and just wonderful to work with someone else. Ultimately, once it was out of the house, which we have become to call this entity a watcher, it's not a very dangerous entity, but it's exceptionally unsettling. And so once I got it out of my house and out of the table, things started to feel a lot better, but it was still really uncomfortable to have it outside. And there were a couple of times where I'd be outside alone where it was just really unsettling, and my girlfriend and I even were sitting outside trying to watch the aurora borealis, and that started to just make things not so fun. And it's been really nice to get it out of here, and it's far more comfortable just to be in this space again and enjoy the evenings again. Because it wasn't fun to be out there and not be able to see anything, but also feel something watching you. Luckily, it really wasn't that big of a deal, and ultimately I'm glad that I was able to get it out of this space, and Olivia was able to help me knock it out entirely, and it gave me a lot more confidence moving the table back into the house and getting everything settled. It feels good to get someone else's opinion, and like always, every time I'm with Olivia, I learn so much, and just getting to see someone else's perspective on things really expands your own. So it's always so valuable and just fun to spend time with her. And I was really grateful for that. So talking to Olivia earlier this week reminded me that I have some oils that need straining. I ended up giving her the other piece of this goldenrod oil that I had prepared, and now it's time to do both that one and the plantain oil, which I'm very excited about. So that actually worked beautifully. Now on to the next one. So this last method actually worked really well, but I want to try it again with this guy. It has a strainer already built into it, and I'm wondering how that will do with getting the oil extracted. The only thing that I do want to note is that it's important to kind of squeeze the herbs at the end to make sure you get every last drop of nutrients and oil. So I may ultimately have to take the herbs out, but I may be able to smush them up enough in this for it to work out pretty well. Alrighty, that did not go exactly to plan, but ultimately it worked out. I overestimated how much space I had in this guy and overfilled it just a bit. So lessons learned for next time, but I got a good deal of very nice plantain oil out of it, and I'm very happy about that. The mountains are covered in snow now. It's kind of hard to see, but it's beautiful. The tide is finally starting to go down after being up really high most of the day, today and yesterday. But it feels nice to be by the water again, and it's calmed down quite a bit. It was really windy earlier, and now it's just a nice, peaceful, calm evening. We only have about 30 minutes of sunlight left, and it's only not even 4 o'clock yet, so the days are getting a whole lot shorter now, and still some time till they get longer, but I kind of like it that way. It forces me to slow down a lot, and I catch up on the sleep that I lost over the summer. But anyways, I was just sitting down and I finished editing the first portion of this vlog, and I just kind of wanted to finish up and talk a little bit more about things. I didn't do a lot of filming this week with Olivia here. I was a little too caught up on just hanging out and catching up on life and things, but I did get a sneak peek of her vlog already, and it is beautiful and really well put together, and she's really good at documenting life in a way that I'm not. I always get caught up in the artistic things and the cinematics, and she just captures life beautifully. So if you're interested in seeing more, her vlog is really good, and I'll link that down below. And really, I recommend it. It's a really good watch, and you get to see her perspective of the whole thing, which is really valuable. I feel like I'm entering a new era right now, just starting from scratch again. October was a really busy month. I was trying to post 3 videos a week, and my goal was to produce about an hour of content every week, and I wasn't always hitting that, but you know, that's an extreme goal for me. I went from making 1 video a week to 2 videos and then 3, and now that I've slowed down for November, it feels good to catch a breath, but I am definitely feeling a little bit burnt out, and having the whole spirit fiasco was really not helpful in any of that. And so now with that completely off my plate, it really helps, and it feels really good. It's kind of like, you know, when you have something that's just making you really tense, and it's just, you're dealing with it and you feel like you've already dealt with it, but it's just not gone, and then when it finally is and you can just breathe, I feel like I can breathe again, and it's exciting, and I kind of feel like I've forgotten how to live life, so that's something I need to work on in the weeks to follow, but I am hopeful. This isn't exactly the right time of year for new beginnings, and so it's kind of an interesting time to start them, but it is the new moon, and so that will hopefully counterbalance some of that. So I do imagine that moving into a time of rest is a good way to start slowly, which is really what I need right now. Life just feels really good again.